And so we're ready for the news. In our first story, the Finance Ministry will later this week serve notice to the Auditor General's Department that it intends to challenge an audit finding to the effect that payment of some $1 million to Kroll, an associate of the UK, was effected without any evidence of work. The said finding was published in the Auditor General's report on the account of ministries, departments and agencies for the period ending December 31, 2018. According to Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah, the report itself concedes that information on the transaction was requested from the ministry by the auditors. He said the Auditor General's finding to the effect that there is no contract or that there is an irregularity in the documentation, that no work has been done so far, is wrong.
The constitutional practice is that the Auditor General's report is submitted to Parliament, and affected ministries, departments and agencies are invited to respond, whether or not they have a valid explanation, a valid response. They have to make that available to Parliament. Parliament then proceeds to make some consequential instructions. The Ministry of Finance believes that at least if this constitutional path had been followed, it would have had the appropriate opportunity to respond at the next forum, which is Parliament, and to explain as follows: that, one, the transaction is properly backed by an agreement that took effect on the 13th of February 2017, pursuant to a letter of intent on the 2nd of February 2017 that was signed by the government of Ghana. This letter and its content were further included in an agreement dated the 29th of September that same year that covered the transaction. Additionally, the Office of the Senior Minister responded to the Ministry of Finance's query to the effect, and with your permission, I'd just like to read two paragraphs from the letter that the Office of the Senior Minister wrote in response to the Finance Ministry when they requested from them to explain for the benefit of the audit team. Just two paragraphs. Paragraph 2 says, since September 2017, Kroll has been working with the government of Ghana to undertake extensive and thorough investigations of allegations of wrongdoing and providing evidence of asset recoveries for public prosecution. The last but one paragraph says, Kroll has since 2017 worked diligently and consistently, and their fees have been paid against the investigations that they have conducted, and value of assets Kroll has identified and secured. And there's evidence to this effect. All payments were properly invoiced for settlement. This is a response from the Office of the Senior Minister to the Finance Minister that was requesting for this information so that they could inform the auditors. The findings to the effect, therefore, that there's no contractual relation for this transaction, or that there are some irregularities in documentation, or that no work was done, or there's no evidence of work done, are wrong. Those findings are wrong.
Moving on, Mr. Kojo Nkrumah assured that the Ministry of Finance is ready to appear before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament to present evidence to justify payment made to Kroll Associates.
Ordinarily, the Ministry of Finance would have waited to appear before Parliament and explain itself and provide this evidence. However, since the Auditor General is reported to have gone public with it already, and the impression is being created that an infraction has occurred, the Ministry of Finance is obliged to also explain to the public, even at this stage before it attends before Parliament, to cure this wrong impression. We want to encourage as a government that we all follow the due process and the laid down processes for all of these reports anytime we have to put them out. The transaction, for the avoidance of doubt, is backed by a well-chronicled agreement. There's evidence of work done, and there are no irregularities in documentation. The Ministry of Finance will address all of these properly when they appear before Parliament, and they will inform the Auditor General of that in the interim as this matter has become public. Let me quickly take that in tree.
Now let's take you to Kumasi, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. They have set up an agricultural mechanization center for farmers and students. It will ultimately provide training in use and also servicing of machinery for commercial farming for increased food production as well as crop production across Ghana. Under the initiative of the Planting for Food and Jobs program, it seeks to train students and existing agricultural engineers. Well, Nana Sensumensa has been assessing.
Combined harvesters, tractors and plows have often broken down with little or no expertise to fix them. Such equipment end up as scrap with attendant cost of replacement. Dr. Clara Benisdako is a Ashanti Regional Agric Engineer.
So with this training, we hope to help elongate most of our machinery, because most operators do not even know how to operate these machinery, but so they force themselves to operate them. And at the end of the day, instead of doing the work effectively and efficiently, they end up collapsing people's businesses. So that is why that is the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and KNUST is establishing this training center to help all stakeholders to elongate their machinery and also to increase productivity in Ghana.
The Agric Mechanization Training Center, under the initiative of the Planting for Foods and Jobs, will serve as a center for refresher courses for existing agric engineers. Professor Emmanuel Bobobi is coordinator for the initiative.
But this is the first time that we are having this, implement, full complement that will help us in training, so that our students will not just hear of this and see the video, but then they will have the opportunity to come to the field. When we are talking about combine harvesting of maize, it's not that to see the combine, all the components, the cutter bar, the conveyor, and then the threshing mechanism. Now you are here to see how it is working, and that opens up their imagination, and then it's actually coming to stay. In fact, it may be even the beginning of an international center of excellence on agricultural mechanization and management. In fact, with this thing, when we are able to train the old engineers in the system, retrain them so that they can be retained, then we will continue to train the students, the young ones that are coming. And then we'll go ahead to not only to use foreign machinery, but then also to develop our own. And this field, the university has got a very large tract of agricultural land for research, about 1,000+ acres. And we are going to use not less than 50 to 200 acres for mechanized production, so that farmers can come here and then see the protocol. We are going to actually mechanize all the production of the candidate crops that the minister has identified in his plan for food and jobs. Maize is one, even the root and tubers, cassava, yam, the vegetables, so that people come here and see how these things are done on a mechanized, easy to take home and get the take-home message, and they can promote and propagate the whole idea.
Beneficiary students already under training share their experience.
In school, we do learn about how to operate these machines and their parts, being it gungeon, pin, cylinder, decor and all that. But we weren't able to get access in touching them or fixing them. So far when we came here, we were able to get a chance to touch them, feel them, and even know how to even fix it a bit.
I've learned that the combined harvester removes the husk, like the comb, the maize comb from the seeds, and after they've been separated, the maize goes to a different place.
See how we operate this machine. This is combined harvester. The engineers are there fixing it, and the students are around all over to see how they fix this machine. And then when we came, we were having the opportunity to learn how to operate this machine.
Anna Asensorensa reporting.
And it should be noted, farmers and market women lose up to 50% of perishable vegetables as a result of poor storage facilities. Traders say this wipes out their profit and sometimes their entire investment for trading. Well, a group of innovators in this year's Cosmos Innovation Center's Agritech Challenge have a solution. They have built a solar-powered cold room to preserve perishable vegetables. On Tech Thursday, Henry Kwesi spoke to them as they tested the prototype at the Cucumber Market right here in Accra. And we'll bring you his report.
Perishable foods, fresh fruits and vegetables start to perish as soon as they are harvested, especially in hot temperatures. The quality of vegetables falls quicker as they are transported from remote villages to marketplaces. According to Ghana's Food and Agriculture Ministry, farmers and vegetable sellers lose up to a third of their vegetables after harvest. Food produced are mostly preserved traditionally, as some leave them at the mercy of the weather. Here at the Konkombo market, one of the country's biggest foodstuff markets, the losses are negatively affecting vegetable sellers.
My tomatoes deteriorate by the day, and I have to go through the pain of sorting them daily. Some perish as a result. I sometimes lose a third of my produce and make lots of losses. These are a result of lack of storage facilities here.
Especially the tomatoes trading, at times you can go with, let's say, 10 cedis. You can go to the bush with 10 cedis, buy a product. When you come, you can sell and get 4 cedis. So you just imagine the loss.
Thermostor is in the final of this year's KIC Agritech Challenge and has built a solar-powered cold room for a 24/7 off-grid storage and preservation of perishable vegetables.
We are building this system for market women, retailers of fresh vegetables who have to undergo so much losses because there's really no system that deals with the problems they have. So this solution is built for Auntie Ama, Auntie Akusia, and every other market woman who is there and is making losses. So at the end of the day, instead of taking the tomatoes to a place where they will be hot, where they won't be well covered, where pests and then rodents will go and eat it, you can bring it to a safe place like Thermostor, and then we can keep it for you. This thing is a wonder in cost cutting, because we've tried to utilize very local materials to achieve the same purpose. So we have the external be made of wood, and then we have aluminum lining in the middle. The wood, first of all, serving as reinforcement for the structure and also serving as an insulator. And then the aluminum panel also serving as an insulator that will trap in the cold to prevent it from going out. So you can see that the lining is made of aluminum panels. And then at the outside, when you look at the edge, in order to prevent the cold air from coming out, we have an overlap here which is lined with silicone in order to trap the cold air in, and then nothing will come out. We also have a sensor here, a thermometer which is a sensor, so that once we switch on the system, the thermometer can automatically check the temperature inside the system and then adjust it accordingly, so that you don't have the temperature dropping too much for it to freeze. So these are the things inside. This is also built from scratch. This whole control box is also built from scratch, and this is what we use to regulate the temperature to make sure that we can have the thing that we want. What it also means is that if we decide not to store tomatoes, but to store, say, potatoes, which can take a lower temperature, all we need to do is to set it here, and then the system will take over. However, if we want to use a green vegetable, which will wilt if the temperature is too low, then you can also make the settings here, and then everything will go on accordingly. So these are the systems that make up the cold storage system. But again, this is a prototype. The whole idea is to scale it up so that we can have various kinds of vegetables in the same system, each one with its own temperature that will go along with it.
The device enables farmers and market women to place their produce in plastic crates for storage. According to the team that built the system, the innovation extends the shelf life of fruits and vegetables by about 2 weeks.
So research and the literature suggests that this thing should be able to keep it for as long as a whole month. However, the Thermostor brand is not to try to experiment with our customers. So our promise is that I can keep it for up to 14 days, which is 2 weeks. But it can go beyond that. But because of branding and a promise, we don't want to promise something that, so for us, it's 14 days that we'll be able to keep this.
Cosmos Innovation Center believes there's room for improvement, as the innovation could be a lifesaver for people in the vegetable value chain. Fred Phillips is Programs Officer.
Going forward, this is a prototype. They need to scale. Okay, how do you do that in a very innovative way? For me, it requires a lot more research and development They need to look around a bit more to see what has been done in other parts of the world and how that can be infused into what they have done. Okay.
The thermostat team says the innovation will improve the increase and earnings of farmers and vegetable sellers by 25%, whilst creating employment.
More than half of the
JoyNews,
local demand for tomatoes is imported from Burkina Faso using the CFA franc. The value of the cedi has, however, been declining against the CFA franc. This
Oh, we're sorry for that sound interference, but we have to take you to the Volta region. The chiefs and people of Bidiko have indicated intentions to construct an accident and trauma center at the Peki Government Hospital to augment healthcare delivery to clients. Well, funds accrued so far from the 2019 Bidiko celebrations will be used to finance the construction of the center for the hospital, where a section of the facilities OPD is being improvised as the accident and emergency unit. The paramount chief of Peki, the Igan Kojo Day, the 12, announced this at the launch of the festival slated for December 2019.
In line with our theme for this year, Bidiko has joined hands with Peki to construct a trauma and accident center at the Peki Government Hospital. The project, which was jointly initiated 2 years ago by the Peki chiefs and kings, Council of Churches, and the hospital administration, in direct response to the increasing and worrying incidence of avoidable deaths caused by lack of such facility in handling vehicular accident cases on the Eastern Corridor Road and from domestic accidents. From the activities outlined, I believe this year's festival should be grand and interesting. It should serve as a good yardstick for what awaits us during Bidiko's 25th anniversary celebration next year. On this note, I now declare Bidiko's 2019 formally launched.
Well, we wish them a great festival in December. I hope that they'll invite me. I'll be there. Peki, it's a nice area. But in the meantime, that's it for the latest news headlines. So we'll bring you a review of the newspapers. We have a couple of the dailies in the studio, but in the meantime, please make sure that you're quickly as possible on your phones or your various tablets and laptops, and you watch us live through the various social media handles and pages. We have Facebook JoyNews on TV. We have a Twitter handle as well, and you can also watch us live through My Joy Online TV on YouTube. I have to say good morning to you, Michael Beckley. You are the Krachin Kwanta GCB Bank manager. Great time for you this morning, as well as my good friend, the head of pharmacy at the Boku Presbyterian Hospital, Salifu Combat, as well as to your wife, of course, Flora. But in the meantime, we are taking a break. But I do know that you're also celebrating your birthday, Dr. Lord Mensah of the University of Ghana Business School, Finance Department. We wish you all the best for the day. Your lunch is on you and the rest of your friends. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.